we have built our measures in Power BI. Remember, the measures, their purpose is to use them in visualization at the end of the day. We decided the measures we wanted to create based on the questions we want to answer with our reports. And we came up with a measure list. We created those measure lists, we created calculation groups, and we did something called field parameter to work with our calculation group. Now we can get started in creating our reports based on the plan that we had. Remember, we are like an architect that designed a plan. Now we want to do our actual reporting. Let's get started. Let's create a new report page. On this new report page, one of those first things you have to decide is what is the page size you want to work with. You also want to decide what is the color. Some things you may not have the full knowledge about the color you want to use at the end of the day, but sometimes it's good to decide those things from start. It may be a company's brand color. It may be a color that allows you to tell your story. This is not something you just do randomly. There are conditions there is a process to it. Like I said, data visualization is an art and a science on its own. Good. For this report page, we have the canvas, the white screen I have here. I'm going to come to my format pane, I'm going to come to the format pane under the visualization pane, and I'm going to come to report background. I change the transparency to 0, and I just choose this white, 20% darker. This is going to be the background of our report page and any other report page we want to use. In fact, you could also bring in a picture if you have. Maybe the company has, or the organization you work with, or whatever data you are trying to report. There's something that tells the story you want to put in the background. Good. You could design your image background with PowerPoint. You could design it with any graphic design tool that you have. Good. Now that we have this, we want to go back to our storyboarding and decide where to start from. We want to start from our card visual. This is the card visual, and we want to put sales, profits, and we have discounts here, but I think it should be transactions. Let us put transactions. Yes. And returns. What we are going to do now is we come over here now and we are going to make use of the card visual. We have the new card visual, which if you are using the December 2023 version of Power BI, you are going to have it, or any other recent versions. But we also have some other visual, which is the multi-row card, and we have the single card visual. We are going to make use of the new card visual, and just with a click of a button, we are going to bring in everything we need. We want to bring in sales, we want to bring in profits, we want to bring in transactions, and we want to bring in returns. Unfortunately, we do not have returns created as a measure. I'm going to create a new measure called returns, and I'm going to have returns equals count rows, and I'm going to bring in the returns table, close the bracket, enter. Good. And I'm going to go ahead and also create what we call return rate. I think it gives us better information, which is going to be divide. Like we know, we divide returns. Returns is a measure now. We divide the returns measure by what? Transaction measure. Good. And we close the bracket, enter. Now that we have this, we go back to our report page. Let us rename our report page sales summary. And we come over here, we just add our return rate. This return rate is supposed to be a percentage visual, a percentage format. We change it to percentage, and it's 2 decimal place already. One thing we can do is, this is 2 decimal place, 1 decimal place, no decimal, 2 decimal place. We can come to the card visual itself, and on that format of visual, we are going to see call out values, scroll down, and decimal place, we can decide to use 2. Now we can see what we have now. This is 1 and this is 2. We can do some other editing by changing the font size of the text and the data labels, the data itself. We activate the visual again, the card visual. We come to the format pane, and under call out values, instead of having 45 here, we can change it to 40. Good. And we scroll down again, we have label. It is showing as heading 4. We want to use something like, yes, something like this, maybe heading 4. Let us leave it as heading 4. And above value, below value, these are things you can change. We just leave it as above value. And heading 4, we have heading 5. We don't see any change really. Heading 6. Okay, let's leave it as it is, and we just adjust this shape. We just adjust the shape. Now we can see that there are a couple of other things we can do so that it will occupy less space, and we can see there are a lot of white spaces. What we can also do is we can see there are some padding, and we could also just come to cards and we can see padding. We can change it to narrow, but I'm going to do what we call custom instead. And I'm going to change everything to 0. And we can see I can now reduce it a little more, which I cannot do before. And that is that. We can come to what we call under general, we have effects. And what I can do now is to deactivate the background. And after doing that, I'm going to come to visual border. And I think I'm going to leave that, and I'm just going to do the border from here. And I have this. I'm going to change this background to this. And now we see what we have. And instead of having this white color, I'm going to come here again, and we come to cards, background. Let us do without background. Good. So I have something like this. We can still change the color of the text. For now, let us leave it as it is. Or we change the color of the text. It should be somewhere to change the color. You could search for it. Those are one ways to do it. Colored values, and the color we can use white. Or we leave it as it is. We use black. We can decide on the color choice later when we want to do everything about color together with other things. We have this already, and we can bring in our slicer. Remember, according to the storyboarding we have here, slicer for years and month. And I'm going to come over here. Make sure you are not selecting a visual. You have to come outside. Then you come over to your slicer. And for the slicer, I'm going to use the calendar year. Now I have this, and I create another slicer again, and I use month. Good. I don't want this slicer to occupy a lot of space. I can come over here to format your visual, slicer settings, and change it to drop down. And I'm going to do the same thing for the month slicer. Visual, slicer settings, drop down, and we can just place it somewhere here for now. Good. One thing we can also do now is to come over to sales summary storyboarding and look at, okay, let's start creating other visuals. Which product generates more revenue? Then in order to answer the question, I'm going to use a bar chart. Then I have sales, which is my revenue. Then I have product name under dim product, and I choose on product name. And we can see we have a lot of bars that we can see because we have a lot of products. What I can do in that case is what? I can just decide to see the top 5 products that sells. I'm going to come to under the filter pane, and under the filter pane, I'm going to click this, change it to top N, and I have 5. And by value is going to be sales. And I apply the filter. Now we have the top 5 products. I can adjust the size and put it somewhere like this. Let us check the storyboarding again. Countries, top 10 countries. I'm going to come here again, and what we do, create a bar chart. Same process. Create a bar chart, sales, and country. Country is under geography, and we have country. Good. And under the filter pane, under country, I change it to top N, and I have 10. And sales, apply filter. Meanwhile, it is not only top 10 you can show, you can also show bottom 10. But in this case, we are interested in top 10. Now we have this. We have which customers are more valuable. All customers are valuable, but some of them spend more money than the other. We want to know the ones that spend more money in the global superstore. So what we do is we come over here, we use sales again, no, not geography, customer, and we are going to make use of the customer name in this case. And we just check the customer name, and once we check it, it appears. But we are not interested in all the customers. we want to see the top 10 customers. We come over to the filter and we change it to top N. We put 10 and we have by value sales. Where is my sales? Sales is under measure and we bring in its here and apply filter. Now we have the top 10 customers, but we can see now we have the full customer name, Tom Ashbrook, and things like that. We have the first name, last name. Maybe we could just do first name and the last name initial. I think that would be better. It's going to save us some space. In order to do that, and that is what happens sometimes when you create reports and you start creating your visual. You have to sometimes go back to Power Query and do 1 or 2 transformations. I'm going to do that. I'm going to go to transform data. And what I want to have now is under customer, dim customer, I want to have a column that is going to be first name with last name initial. In order to do that, there are a couple of ways to do that, but I'm choosing to do it by splitting the column. I split the column by delimiter first, and based on space, leftmost delimiter. Now that I have this, one of them is going to be first name, the other is going to be last name. Then I'm going to combine first name plus last name initial. This is last name now. What I'm going to do is I'm going to extract again. Where is extract? Extract first characters, and I want to extract the first one. So this is the last name initial now, and I'm going to call it last initial. And this is first name. What I'm going to do is I'm going to combine these 2 columns. I'm going to select first name first and select the second column by holding down the Control button. It seems we have some problem. Let us check the problem we have somewhere, and view, column profile. Everything looks good. Column quality looks good. Okay, let's continue with an unexpected error happens. Okay, let us just go back a little. Okay, we have these 2. Let us extract the first name. Okay, we have this. We've extracted. Let us combine. This is first name and this is last name initial. We select this and we select this and we come to merge columns. And separator is going to be space. Good. And we are going to call it just call it customer name. Yeah. Now we have new customer name now. And we can do what? Close and apply. And we want to see this Tom updated instead of having the full name. But we can see now when we try to do this, we do not see Tom again as the first. So it seems some people have the same last name. They have the same last name, or they have the same last name initial. Because of that, this doesn't seem to work well. We are just going to go back and we can go to dim customer again. And instead of we just go back first characters, what we can do is extracted first characters. Instead of extracting the first character, we can change it to 3 and we put 3. Yeah. And we do OK. And we do close and apply. These are some of the problems you may begin to encounter. Now, we need to be careful when we do transformations. Now we can see it appears how we want it to appear. This looks good for now. We can leave it as it is since that is what works with our data. You need to be careful when you use initials. Be sure that other customers do not have that same initial, which then categorize it together. That is just what we want to show here. So what you can do now is to come to sales by category, which is for this, sales by category. Then we are going to create a bar chart again, and we have sales and we have category, which is under products. We check it. Now we have this. Then the next thing is we want to have sales by time. I think for this one, it is good to compare sales in current year, sales in previous year. What we are going to do in that case is to come over here now and we use a line chart. In that case, we do a line chart. For this line chart, we are going to have month and we have sales. Good. Remember, we have our year here. We can just change it to 2012. Now we have this. Now we want to bring same period last year to compare January of 2012 to January of 2011. I'm going to bring sales same period last year, which is going to be what? Sales same period last year. This is it. SPLY. I check it. Now I have it. Good. We can see now that our report is beginning to have some shape. What we can do now is to do some adjustments, and we need to do some adjustment and formatting. Yes. to make everything look better. The default chart you always have in most visualization tools is not your end product. You always need to format. And this formatting will require you to just put on some design cap as a data visualization expert or as a data analyst. You need to put on the cap of a designer when you do your formatting, because you now have to work with colors, shape. You want to make sure the end user do not misunderstand whatever you are trying to show, which is very important. As simple as possible, you want to remove ambiguity, and you want to be as clear as possible. So you remove clutter, remove ambiguity. Good. Now this is what we have. What we can do now, just like we have for our card visual, we can decide to remove this white background color for all of them. What I always do is, if I have a series of formatting option I'm going to apply on all my visuals, I'm going to do it on one of them first, and I'm going to now copy that particular format that I have now into all the other visuals. This is what I'm saying. For this very first visual, I'm going to select it. After selecting, I'm going to come to the format your visual. After formatting visual x-axis, I'm going to remove the values, and instead of that, I'm going to come to data labels. I'm going to have this, and we are going to position. We want it to be inside end. After doing this, I'm going to come to my bars. Bars is going to be somewhere. This is bars, and I'm going to change the color to this. Good. We can see now. Are there any other thing I want to do? What I want to do more is I want to come to background. Yes, under general effects. Then I'm going to say I don't want any background, but I do want some border. Yes, I don't want a background, but I want a border. So what I'm going to do now again for this border is general effects, visual border. I'm going to change it to this. Good. Now that I have this, for this visual border again, I want it to have some rounded edge. I'm going to come to effects, visual border, rounded edge, and we want it to be like maybe 6. We want to check the results. Now we can see our results for the rounded edges. Now, good. I don't want to do the same step for all the visuals. What I'm going to do is select this visual first and come to Format Painter, and I'm going to just select it, and we can see now it has copied the formatting option. Now we do Format Painter again, it copies it. We come over here, Format Painter copies it. Okay, let us do it one more time. Format Painter, copy. Then select it again, Format Painter, paste it. Good. Now we can see the difference. But now for this my line chart, I do not want the data labels on all of them. I'm just going to come back here and do line chart, data label. I'm unchecking it, and I want my x-axis to show. And where are you? Okay, I think it's not x-axis in this case, y-axis, values, I want it to show. Yeah. What I can do now is for this line chart, I want to change the color for my SPLY. I'm going to come to lines, and I'm going to select Sales SPLY and reduce the stroke width first. And I want to change the line type to dotted and the color to something else. We can use something close to black. Now, this is what I have. Or we can increase the stroke width a little. Good. This looks better, and since we are using this color already for the sales, we can come to Sales SPLY and change it to this. This is the color we are. Oh, no. Sales SPLY is going to be something close to black, and sales itself is going to be what? We come to sales, and sales itself is going to be this. Good. Now everything is looking the same. Now we need to do something to this slicer also, that it looks like every other one. And what we can do is for these sales that we have here, the text do not seem to be very clear. We can change it to maybe a darker version of black. For this particular chart again, this bar chart, what I'm going to do is I'm going to come over here, come to Format Visual. I'm going to y-axis, values. We want to use a darker shade of black. Okay, now it is a little bit clearer, because we want the contrast between your background and the actual thing you want to show, annotation and the data itself. You want it to be as visible, as clear as possible. And that is why we are changing this. And I can just copy, paste now, and copy and paste. Good. Copy and paste. And we do the same for this. Now, some other things you may need to always do or sometimes do is maybe I don't want the default titles. This is sales by product name. I want it to be in form of questions. Then I'm going to come to the particular visual I want to work with, activate it first, come to format, and under general title, I can now put what I want there. I can say which products generate more revenue. I have that inside and I can reduce the font size. Good. Then I think we need to put question mark. Good. We have this. Then we can do the same for sales by country. General title. We call it which country or which countries more profitable. Then sales by customer. We can say which customers spend more money, or which customers are most valuable, something like that. And for sales by category, we have which categories generate more revenue. And we can call it sales in current year sales, sales in previous. Some basic things we could do. We could now go ahead now and adjust the formatting option for our slicer. To adjust the slicers, we select just one of the slicer and we come to the format your visual. And we want to do some things about color. We can just do a search of color. This is something you can do with formatting. You can just search what you want instead of looking for it where it is hiding. What we are going to do is we want to do a couple of things, but let us maybe before this color, we come to general effects. We do not want any background. Good. Now, after we've done this, we come back here and we are going to search for color. And for this color, we can say, let us check how it looks like. For this background, let us use something. Oh, we do not want this. We do not want this. What we can do is we can just change this to what it was earlier. Maybe just something. Okay, let us leave it as it is. Let us change something. We need to change some things there. And we come over here, values. There are still some things we need to do. The color can be white for the text. Good. And we still need to do something. Let us come over here. Let us see what happens with this background. Let us activate it again and say we want to use this. Doesn't seem to work fine. Let us just start again and do Ctrl+C, Ctrl+V, and we put here. For this, let us think about what to do that is going to be a little bit different but clear. Let us come over here and come to values. Slicer test settings, everything looks good. And padding, we can reduce the padding to minimum. And this guy can be something a little bit darker. Okay, good. We can see the effects. And we come over here again. We come to general effects. We have visual border and we have background. So for this background, let us see. Let's assume you use this background. You can see what happens. In this case, do we want background or not? This is without background. Good. Remember, we are only doing it for year, so I have to remove the month. Good. Now, what do I do next? I want all the year that is going to show to be like white. Good. And I want it to show under a darker shade of gray. What I'm going to do is, let us take a look. We come to values, we come to border, background. For this background, let us check what happens if I use this. Now we see what I'm saying. The background now is a darker shade of gray. Then we come to values, font color, white. Good. This is exactly what I want. This is exactly what I want. Now, we can see now the year that we are saying now, we can make it like black or even this color that we use here. I activate it again and I come to values and we have slicer header. And for this header, let us see if I change it to this. Now, if I change it to this, good. Good. Now this is what we have for our slicer. But I want it to have a visual border. Yes. And for the visual border, we come to format your visual, slicer header of values. Is it the one? We have border here, and we can select border for everything, and let us see the effects. It doesn't show exactly like I want. So let us come back again. This is something you just have to do when you are formatting your visuals and effects. And we have visual border, and I think this is what we want. Visual border, we've activated it, and it is now 2 pixels for rounded corners. Good. This is exactly what we want. We can just do format painter again and copy whatever format option we have for the year to the month. Then we do format painter, and boom, it appears. And this is what we have at the moment, and we can adjust it. Good. It seems the visual border for the slicers, it's more darker than the visual borders we have on the other part of the chart. It is something we can change. We come over to general effects. Then visual border, we use this. I think, yes, good. Then we have for the month, we come to general effects, visual border, then we change it to this, 60% darker. Good. Now we can begin to see that everything is having some shape. Everything is having some shape. For our multi-row card visual, another thing we could do is to the sales, profit, transactions, and the return rates, like the title. We can change it. We can change the color, and to change those colors, and we can also add some visual border with some rounded corners. So I activate it. I come to format your visual. Then I come to cards, and we should have something that looks like border. Good. It should be somewhere. We just need to find it. Shape. Then we have rounded rectangle. Then we can just reduce it. This seems to work well. Now we want to work on color. For the color, we come to colored visuals. And which color should we use? For the colored visuals, we could use this. For the values, we can use this. Good. Now we can see there is a similarity between this color and whatever we have in other part of the visuals, and we could even use the exact same thing. Good. Now for the sales, profit, transactions, what we could do is to first of all reduce their sizes, and after reducing the sizes, we change the colors. So it should be reference labels, and we do all. We change it to all. We want the same thing for all settings. And let us see. Reference label. No, this is not what we want to do. We have colored values, and we scroll down. We have label. Good. And we change the color. Let us see the effects of this first. This seems to work well. I think we are just going to use this black. It seems to work well. Now we can see this is the first page of our report. It's not going to be as fast as this when you are working on your own sometimes, but with experience and repetition and doing it over and over and over again, we begin to see that the time we spend on creating those visuals will reduce. What I can do is I can still reduce this so that this 2 belongs here and this 2 comes here. We are trying to balance our visual so that everything aligns together. We can just reduce this, and we see the line that helps us. It's the guide. Good. And I increase the size of this. Good. So sometimes you need to do some of this exercise, and you just play around with it, and with time you can see how things is going to improve and for you when you work. I think I want to reduce the sizes of sales, profit, transactions, and return rates, and I activate it first. Then I come to format your visual. After formatting the visual, colored values, label. And under label, I'm going to change it to just 10. Good. 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 And I can increase the size of my actual number, which is going to be, where are you? Maybe 21. And change this again to, yeah. So this seems to work well. One thing I can also do is I can add images if I want. That is one of the cool features of the new card visual. And I have some pictures that we could add, like icons. You can download it from the course material. And I'm going to just activate the visual again, the card visual. come under here, come under cards, and for the cards, let us see. There is a place to do that. We have images, good. And I'm going to add the images for sales. I'm going to activate it first. Then I have image. Then I navigate to the location of the image on my PC. Then I have Power BI, cost data, then icons. I have an icon for sales, good. Then I do the same for profits, then transactions, then return rates, good. This return rates, and maybe you want to adjust the sizes of the pictures that you have. For the return rates, I can just scroll down and we have auto pixel. We can use maybe 40. That doesn't seem to work well. We can do 30. I think the auto pixel, let us see, 25. Okay. 35. Okay, I think the auto pixel just seems to work well. We can leave it as it is. We can leave it as it is for now. So sometimes those are the adjustments you can do, and it all depends on what you are working with and your requirements. But we have these visuals now, and we have the little images just beside it. And we can now begin to put live into our visuals. We can add a lot of more interactions and things like that. If you want to change some colors, you can do. For the return rate, for example, you can come to the return rate and you change the color. Maybe you want to call attention to return rate and you do call out values series, return rate, and you change the color to something reddish. And we can see now that, yes, this is something also possible that you could want to do with your report page. And we are going to be moving over now in creating the storyboarding for time, the report page for that, and for geography.